Hey guys, here to share a little bit of Pilates with you. My name is Frances, and we're going to do a lot of the classic moves today. We're going to use a few props. We're going to use a blanket, and we're going to use a block. You can use a pillow if you don't have a block. We're going to, I have a yoga blanket here. You can use any other blanket that you like, but we're going to fold it to roughly this shape, and then I want you to make a tight roll with that blanket. So you're going to tightly roll that blanket. And we're going to basically simulate a foam roller. If you have a foam roller at home, you could use a foam roller instead, and that would be fine. We're going to have a seat on one end of the blanket and lie back so that your tail's on one end and your head is on the other end. Just make sure that your head is supported. We'll start by bringing the arms alongside the body. Pull the belly in so much that you press the low back into the roll blanket. And we're going to fold the knees into the chest one at a time. But make sure, again, the abs are really pulling in from the front. So drawing both knees into the chest. I want to focus on two things at this beginning part of the class here. So abs connecting, and when I say neck, I mean neck, jaw, and shoulders releasing. So abs connect, neck released, okay? So belly pulling in, low back, low ribs pressing into that roll blanket from the belly, pulling in from the front. And meanwhile, I want you to, again, actively, consciously release and relax the neck. Okay, all right, so we're going to start by doing alternate toe touches. One set of toes touch down to the floor, and then we switch midair, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. We do a couple more like this. Remember, again, the low back is pressing to the floor. You're actively, consciously relaxing the upper body. And then let's draw both knees in, flex the feet, ankles squeeze together, knees squeeze together. On an exhale, you're going to deflate the abs. I want you to visualize a big brass cowboy belt buckle. And I want you to visualize that that's the spot that you're actively pulling in as you lower both legs down and then lift back up. And again, lower down and lift up, back up. You can exhale as you deflate the abs and inhale as you lift. Exhale, deflate, inhale. Exhale, deflate, and inhale. One more time. Exhale, deflate, and inhale. We're going to lower the feet one at a time. Ground the feet nice and solid underneath your knees. Bring your hands back to cradle the head, and we'll find our upper body alignment. So nod the head once to curl the head, neck, and shoulder blades up off of your roll blanket. I want you to keep a fist distance of space between your chin and your chest, and just come into your upper body alignment. Make sure your hips stay relaxed. And then we come back down. We do it again. Nod and curl. Come into your upper body alignment. You're efforting when you do this to bring the flat parts of your shoulder blades towards your thighs, like closing up a clamshell. But you want to keep, again, that distance, that chin space, I like to call it. And reach it, reach it, reach it, reach it. And then come on back down. We're going to slide off of our prop. You can either use that as an extra cushion, or you can just take that away altogether. I'm actually going to open that up to make it a little extra cushion for my body. So we're going to do a little more rolling of the rolling exercises today. Okay, so let's go ahead and from here, we'll start with the bridge, feet on the floor, arms alongside the body, belly pulling in, tuck the tail and lift the hips up high. I want you to work your transverse abdominals. Think of that like a corset around your low torso or a weight belt that you're tightening with your own muscles. So lifting as you're working those transverse abdominals, I like to call it skinny middle. So engage your skinny middle. All right, just relax the upper body. Make sure you're not jamming your chin into your chest. Chin falls away from the chest a little bit. And then let's sequentially roll down one by one vertebra at a time. Let's do it again. Belly pulls in, tuck the tail, hips lift high, work your skinny middle. And then sequentially roll back, down. And again, here we go. Belly pulls in, tail tucks, hips lift. And then sequentially roll back, down. Just mobilizing the spine a little bit. Let's do a little bit more of that spinal mobilization. We'll lengthen the legs along the floor. Reach the arms long behind you. Stretch long. Let's splay the rib cage open toward the ceiling. Big breath in and big breath out. And again, big breath in and big breath out. One more time. Big breath in and big breath out. Okay, so just arching the back for a moment. Now let's bring the elbows into L shapes here alongside the body. Widen the feet as wide as your mat. And then one knee falls to the side and the other knee follows. And we'll just kind of do a couple of these windshield wiper movements here. That's it, guys. Good. You can lengthen the breath while we're at it. Just a simple mobilization of the spine to start. Let's do one more time each side. And then let's come back to center. If you're comfortable to rock forward and backward along the length of your back, we'll rock a couple times to bring ourselves up to seated. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and from here, take your block or pillow, whatever prop you have. We're going to squeeze that between the thighs, hold on the hamstrings, lengthen the spine. We go long spine, open chest, get broad across the collarbones. And then pull the belly in. We're going to round out the back. And then long spine, open chest. And then belly pulls in. And again, long spine, open chest. And then belly pulls in. One more time, lift as long as you can. We're energizing our spine. Get as tall, tall, tall as you can. And then let's pull back. And now we'll continue to roll down right through the segments of our abdominals. Visualize that your 8-pack muscle, and we're rolling down segment by segment to your upper body alignment that we found on the blanket earlier. Now exhale, deflate the abs, see them move down. Keep the abs in, breathe into the back of the lungs. Don't let the abs push out. And then exhale, curl, curl, curl your way back up. And let's work the lift of the spine, and we'll do 2 more like that. Belly pulls in, round it slowly, slowly, slowly down. All the way down. Exhale, deflate. Inhale, back of the lungs. Exhale, curl through your segments, right? Segment 1, 2, 3, and 4. Work the lift, lift, lift. And then pull in from 4. Think of like those, your 8-pack, those side-by segments, like stripes. That's the 2 side-by-side pair of segments. You're going to make stripe 4, 3, 2. 1 is at the base of the breastbone, so that's down in your upper body alignment. And then let's curl through our segments through 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Work the lift of the spine. Now we'll go a little more challenging. Work your transverse abdominals, your skinny middle, arms up now. And we're going to hinge back in one long line. And now start to curl. Squeezing the block helps. You can move your feet a little further away from you if you need a little bit of help. Finish with your arms on the floor behind you. And then inhale the arms up. Exhale, nod and curl. And come back up. And 2 more. Here we go. Hinge and round. Belly pulls in. And inhale the arms up. Exhale, curl your way back up. Let's do 1 more time. Here we go. Skinny middle. We hinge and round it down in 8 and 7 and 6. Keep breathing. 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Take your prop. Place it off to the side. Again, stretch long through the body and arch the back. And then exhale, release. And inhale, reach, stretch, arch. And exhale, release. 1 more time. Inhale, reach, stretch, arch. And then go ahead and release. Good. We could just be done right here. Just rest. How about that? Anyway, it feels good to move the body, so let's keep going. All right, so from here, we're going to start with our arms alongside the body. Let's do our pelvic rocks again. And low back presses into the floor. And low back arches. And low back presses. And low back arches. Let's have the low back press and stay. We'll take our block. You can either put it underneath your head like a pillow, or you can squeeze that between the calves, okay? We're going to lengthen the legs up. If there's easily, go straight up to the ceiling. Keep your legs straight and laterally rotate the thigh bones from the hip sockets. We'll do both legs like that, right? If your hamstrings are a little tighter than that, but then they would be sort of out on the angle, you couldn't easily lift them up, then I want you to stay parallel with the legs and bend the knees, okay? Either way, the low back stays pressing to the floor strongly, okay? So you're gonna squeeze the block either for the tight hamstring version, or if you're flexible, laterally rotate and squeeze there. Hold on to the hamstrings and come into your upper body alignment. Pull with your arm strength to bring the shoulder blades, the flat parts toward the thighs. Now exhale and deflate the abs, see them move down. Now palms down, start to pump the arms. Inhale into the back of the lungs. 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3. Now, keep the low back pressing into the floor. If you can do that, keep the low back pressing into the floor. You can start to lengthen the legs away from you on an angle. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 5 more sets. And inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 2 more sets and inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. If your neck gets tired, feel free to lower your head down. 4, 5, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Take your block, place it off to the side, feet on the floor, arms alongside the body, pelvic rocks again, low back presses and arches. Now let's make that rocking the pelvis smaller and smaller until we find roughly the middle, right? We're gonna find a little bit of space between our low back and the floor, and if our hands are on our hips, we find our hip points and pubic bone in the same plane. Okay, now relax your back muscles, right? If you can't relax your back muscles and maintain that neutral alignment with those 3 bony landmarks in place, then I want you to release out of the alignment a little bit, right? More important to work in a relaxed place, okay? For your back, I don't want you to work in a grip, okay? Okay, so our back is relaxed. We're as close to our neutral as we can be. Now we're going to engage our deep core muscles. Pelvic floor is number 1. Muscles between the sitting bones, pubic bone, and the tailbone, right at the base of the torso, pulling in and up towards your head. So pelvic floor 1, skinny middle 2, long spine 3. We've done those in our warm-up. Now we do right leg up and laterally rotate the thigh bone from the hip socket, crossing midline for leg circles. We go circle and pause, and circle and pause. Again, circle and pause, and circle and pause. 2 more, circle and 1 more, and circle, reverse it, and circle and pause, and circle and pause. Again, circle and pause, circle and pause, circle and 1 more, and circle. Let's go ahead and from here go parallel leg for bottom off, flex the foot. We're going to lengthen that leg all the way down. And we're going to go point it up, flex it down, point it up, flex it down. On these ones, I want you to keep your pelvis super steady and just find the freedom of movement at the hip socket. Let's do a couple more like these. Let's do 2 more. Going for 8. That's it, good. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do the second side, those 2 same series. We're going to lengthen up, laterally rotate, cross the midline. We go circle and pause. Now on this one, we want to keep the pelvis steady also, but we want no rocking side to side. Let's reverse direction, circle and pause. If you have tightness, you can use a prop, right? So if you have a belt or a tie or yoga strap, right? If your hamstrings are tight, you're going to just use the help of a prop in that case, right? So feel free to do that if the hamstrings are tight. Now let's go parallel leg, flex the foot for bottom on, and here we go. Point it up, flex it down, point it up, flex it down. That's it, guys, good. Couple more. 2 more. 1 more, and then let's go ahead and from here. So I wanted to do a couple more rolling exercises today. So we're cutting a little bit of the classic series. I'll often do a whole long series, which I'll do in some other videos. But today we're going to spend a little more time on the rolling and opening up our range of motion to be able to roll a little better. Okay, so if it's not comfortable for you to roll, then it's fine. You want to kind of make sure that it's appropriate for your body, right? So if you have either osteoporosis or osteopenia, you may not want to do the rolling exercises. Or if you have disc issues, right? But if you're okay to do the rolling, then we're going to go a little bit more into the rolling today. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give options. If it's a little bit challenging for you to do the rolling exercises, rolling like a ball, then I want to give you some easy inroads to get into the game. Okay, and then we can tighten it up from there. We can kind of shine it up a little bit once we get into the action a little bit more. Okay, so easier version on this one is that we use a little bit of momentum, right, to help us out. So that would look like this. We would kind of maybe, just let our feet move out and then feet move in, okay? And we're just rounding out our back as much as we can. And we might notice a little bit of sort of like a clunkiness, like that could happen if there's any tightness in your back. And if that's the case, then you just do feet out, feet in. Make it smooth as you can and use that help to help you smooth it out and just get into the motion, again, as long as it feels comfortable. All right, version B, you would do tight ball shape and stay into that tight ball shape. And you're going to use here the low abs to pull you back and the upper abs to pull you up. Keep the breathing going. Okay, another variation, if you want a little more challenge, you're going to take the block and squeeze that block between your heel and your tush. And on this one, you're going to keep pulling those heels into the tush and reach your arms forward and try to stay in that tight ball shape and rolling back. And when you come up to balance, there's not a lot of clearance, so you got to really, really stay in that tight ball shape as much as you can. Let's do a couple more. Here we go. Okay, all right. So we said we would work a little bit more on opening that rolling like a ball action up. So I want to focus a little bit on the lower back. It's just opening up the lower back. So we're going to use let's say I didn't say we would use a prop, so you might not have it handy. So we're going to roll down a little bit more, just sequentially with the legs forward, and just see where we are with our mobility in our spine. So let's reach your arms forward and then slowly curl down, slowly curl down. If you notice you drop down quickly, right, we're going to just slow it down and try to open up our back, and then also strengthen the abs a little bit. So let's reach the arms up and then curl your way up. If you feel like you got to kind of push a little bit to get up, I want you to use your hands on your thighs to curl back up with a little bit of help. So let's do that again. Belly pulls in, slowly roll down. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Finish with your arms long. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, curl your way up. And this time, let's release the body over the legs. Now you might notice if you have tightness in your back, you might not be able to fold over very far. If that's the case, I want you to really work the lift of your low back. So lifting, lifting, lifting to allow that roll to happen. The fold forward, rather, to happen. Right? If that's challenging, if you have some tightness in the hamstrings, you can bend the knees and then work the lift with the arms helping and reach the body forward. Okay, so a couple of options there just to help that rolling. Right? Okay, so let's go ahead, and from here, we're gonna, again, we're gonna bring the hands behind the hamstring, pull the belly in, bring the ankles together, and just allow yourself, you're gonna hold on with your hands and let your elbows straighten. Pull the belly in and allow your back to release. So you're gonna just keep those arms straight. Those are like the cables, like in a structure holding it together. And then think of the spine right now, releasing, releasing, and releasing and rounding a little bit toward the floor. And visualize for yourself like a hammock, right? Just softening, softening, softening. And you're basically allowing the back to open up. Big breath in here. Big breath out. And again, a big breath in. And a big breath out. Just allowing that opening, 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 opening. This one's great, actually, if you do have tight hamstrings and you want to open your back up as well. This is a different way to get into that rounding of the upper back, right? So that rounding, that if you have tightness, right, and you're not easily able to do the rolling, it could be tightness. Oftentimes it's tightness in the lower back, but also there could be tightness in the upper back too. So if your hamstrings are tight, let's do another variation for that. The rounding over, right? We're going to bend the knees, squeeze the ankles together, lift up first, use your hands to push to lift up through the low back, right? And then let the torso release forward. Bring your hands over to the tops of your feet and let your body release over your thighs, right? You'll still feel a hamstring stretch if you're tight. If you're not tight, you're going to work into, you're going to kind of wiggle into this one as well the same way, and then just go further into the stretch, right? So if you have tight hamstrings, knees bent, belly on your thighs, and let your head release down. If you need to, you can bend the knees more and bring the whole shape upright a little bit. Or if you're okay here, just hang out in the stretch, releasing the back. You know, if you need more stretch, again, I said if you're tighter in the hamstrings, again, you can move the heels closer and just make the shape a little bit more upright, right? If you're more flexible, you'll start to just kind of wiggle the heels away from you and then lengthen out further. And again, let the head release on this one. Your whole back body gets a stretch. Let's do one more breath there. Let's go ahead and come on upright. And we're going to do a little bit more practice for the rolling. We're going to do open leg rocker prep, and then we'll go into open leg rocker, and we'll see how that goes. We're going to take the block between your ankles. And I'm going to actually just kind of, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move the blanket just a little bit so you can kind of make sure that as you're doing this rolling, right? That you're going to be at the bottom edge of your blanket if you're using a blanket. If you're not on a blanket, you might have your yoga mat like on a rug. That's enough cushion, and you'll be fine for the rolling. But if you need more cushion, you can, again, have the blanket there, but just make sure you have enough length to roll back on. Now I'm going to go ahead and from here, have the block between my ankles on the wide width, and I'm going to have my shin bones parallel to the floor. Okay, and from here, I'm going to pull the belly away from my thighs and try to bring to the floor just the very beginning of my low back. Like I almost want to just get like my sacrum down, that triangular bone at the base of your spine. It's going to be a little more of my low back, but what I don't want to do is come all the way down, right? So it takes a lot of control to do that. So we're going to use our abdominals to slowly, slowly, slowly bring that low back down, and we're trying to open up the low back, and this can be very challenging for a lot of us. And then we come back up with control. I like to think of your abdominal obliques, right? So those muscles that are sort of on a diagonal, right? 2 layers of the diagonal muscles orientated in a diagonal direction, like the reins on a carriage, right? That work to kind of keep you steady. If your obliques are not so strong or kind of maybe a little off balance, you might feel like kind of a real wobble there. So you just try to keep things centered, centered, centered as you come down. Let's do 2 more like that. This is 1 more. And then with control, lift that low back up. And then 1 more time, belly pulls in as you slowly, slowly come down. That's it, guys, good. And then lift back up. Okay, now we're gonna take the block away. So that's a prep for open leg rocker. We're going to go into open leg rocker fully into the exercise. I'm kind of smiling a little bit. I like to give credit where credit is due. I learned this exercise from Holly Jean Costner. I hope I'm getting the name right, but thanks Holly Jean for showing me that. When I very, very first started teaching Pilates, I remember taking a class of hers, and I was so inspired. She's got fabulous with working, very clearly and focused. And I remember she did a lot of work with the block, and I do a lot of that to this day. So thank you, Holly Jean, for all of that support and learning good tips and tricks on how to use the block when you're teaching Pilates. So I like to give credit where credit's due, and I smile when I think about my wonderful teachers I've learned from. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay, so we take the block and place it off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and have the shin bones parallel to the floor. Let me go ahead and, okay. I had an alarm going off, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and from here, we're going to try to stay in this shape, and we're going to roll back, and we're going to roll up. Now, if you need momentum, you can kind of, use that a little bit, open the shape up a little bit and close it up kind of. But ideally, you're going to try to keep in the shape as much as you can. So we roll back, and then we come back up. And so the low back has to round to bring us off of our base, and then we come back up. And I like to think of this as an easy balance, right? So what I'll describe as your base is like you think of the triangle shape that is between your sitting bones and your tailbone. Okay, so that's an easier balance. So we're going to do that easy balance a couple more times. So as we lift up, visualize that triangle shaped platform. That's it, guys. Good. Let's do a couple more times. And 1 more time. Okay, so from here, right, we have the next challenge. We're going to do the same easy balance, but we're going to lengthen the legs. Now, if your hamstrings are a little on the tight side, this will be the hardest one, right? So you don't have to hold on to your ankles. You can hold on anywhere else on your legs that you would like to, okay? If you're flexible, you hold on to your ankles. And we do the same thing. We tuck the tail, pull the belly in, roll it back, and come back up onto that easy balance, okay? Now, this exercise is relatively slow. On purpose, it takes a lot of control. So Pilates, there was a certain period where Pilates called his exercise program Contrology. So we want to work with control. All right, here we go. And again. All right, let's do 1 more like that. And then we're going to make it even more challenging. Like I said, if your hamstrings are tight, this one will be the most challenging. But if you're flexible, the next one might be a little more challenging. So what we're going to do now is instead of being on that easy balance, we're going to find a good focal point, and we're going to tuck the tail. And you're going to balance on that space that's kind of just behind the tailbone. So it's a little more of a rounded shape in the spine, right? And it's a harder balance to find when you come back up. So a good focal point will help on this one. I'm focusing on, this is Bob, guys, if you haven't met Bob already. I'm focusing on Bob's kneecap right here. So he's got a little blue dot on his kneecap, which is a muscle attachment marcation. All right, so we're going to go ahead and roll like this. Here we go. Inhale back. And exhale, find that spot, find that that harder balance point. And inhale back. And exhale, come up and balance. And inhale back. Exhale, come up and balance. On that, you're going to keep that rounded shape of the spine. Let's do one more like that. Now, once you're up there, you're going to bring the feet together, belly firm. And you're going to reach the hands toward the feet and try to hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And then let's go ahead and release that. Okay, so a few more things with the rolling exercises. Opening up through the low back, a little stretch for the upper back. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of backward bending to sort of counterbalance the work that we did with our rolling and our rounding. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and come onto our abdomen. Stack your hands, rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Let's take a few full breaths here. Inhale, let your belly expand on the floor. And exhale. Inhale, belly expand. And exhale. And inhale, belly expands. And exhale. Alrighty. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the classic Pilates back bend. Let's interlace the fingers and lengthen through the spine. Lift your belly button up off the floor, and we do right heel double pulse into the buttocks, and then left heel. We go in. Now we add the feet actions. We go in, point, flex, down, and point, flex, down. Again, point, flex, down, and point, flex, down. A couple more like this. This is where the anatomy geek in me comes out, because technically we're plantar flexing and dorsiflexing. Plantar flex and dorsiflex down, but it's too fast to say. So we use point, flex, down, and point, flex, down, and point, flex, down. Okay, come down, turn your head to one side, hands to the small of your back, and let the elbows fall toward the floor. Let's hang out here for a little bit. So as you're holding on to two fingers with one hand, and you let the elbows fall toward the floor, right? Depending what's happening in your shoulders, right? For some of you guys, this might be a really big stretch. If your elbows just easily fall to the floor and you feel nothing, that's great. But we want to keep it that way. But for a lot of us, might have developed some tightness in the shoulders. I can't remember what book it was that was saying that pretty much after the age of 50, the incidence of shoulder issues just goes up like a great deal. And so we want to keep those shoulders nice and open, strong and healthy as much as we can. Okay, so now let's go ahead and from here, we're going to do both heels double pulse, belly firm, and hips pressing into the floor before you start. So both heels go in, and down again, in, and down. Two more, in, and down. One more, in, and legs stay down. Center the head. Let's squeeze the elbow straight. Come into a backward bend. Make sure you're looking about a foot in front of you on the floor so we don't fold at the neck too much. As you come down, hands back into that stretch, right, into that low back, and the elbows fall toward the floor. You can turn your head to the other side. One more breath here. And then hips pressing, both heels double pulse, in, and down. In, and down. Two more, in, and down. One more, in, and legs stay down, center the head, squeeze the elbows straight. As you inhale, come up a little higher, and then palms face the floor, lift the legs, start to swim the legs. If you want a little more challenge, you can bring the arms out to the sides. The most challenge is the arms forward, and you'll swim the arms as well, breathing as you swim, 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 swim. Swimming, swimming, swimming. No swim cap required here. We're going to do a couple more. Let's call this 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and rest. We're going to rock the hips from side to side. Bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs from side to side a little bit too. Big breath in here. Big breath out. And then let's come into child's pose. You can bring your seat to your feet. You can move your knees onto the blanket there. Bring your seat to your feet. And let's make a tower of fists. And rest our forehead on that tower of fists. We're going to let our tush move closer to our heels here. Take a full breath in here. Full breath out. And full breath in. And full breath out. Okay, let's do just one last thing here. We're going to use your block. If you have a yoga block, this will be great for this. And we're going to use this to open up the upper back a little bit more. We said we would focus on opening up our rolling possibilities. So if your upper back is tight, then we're going to open that up. This is kind of a specific exercise to help there. So this comes from an exercise called rabbit in yoga. So there's rabbit 1, rabbit 2, and rabbit 3. We're going to go right away to rabbit 3 and use that as this focus of opening up your upper back. So I want you to visualize here, if you had like a old-fashioned, like one of those great big collars, like the pilgrim collars, like it was like kind of, imagine like the white on the black, this kind of white material, right? So imagine that sort of pilgrim collar, right? And that's the area you're going to focus on, especially on that upper back, right? So we're going to have the hands with our fingers pointing back. So it's like we're dragging our knuckles there. And we're going to let our forehead come down to the block. And you want to come to the point where you have the block, right, lengthways. And then you're going to have some real estate here that you could roll on. Okay, so I'm going to let my forehead come to the block. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll to the top of my head. And I'm going to visualize breathing into my pilgrim collar, right? And then I'm going to come back down. And then I can come back up. Now, depending on what's happening in your body, if this is not comfortable for your knees, you don't want to do it. But again, listen to your body, see what's okay. We're going to go ahead and come back down again. Forehead to the block. And then inhale, breathe into that upper body. You can even connect your hands to the floor a little bit more clearly. And then come back down. And then open back up. And one last time. Here we go. Forehead to the block. Roll to the top of your head. Breathe into the upper body. And then come back down. And then we come back to seated. Okay. So I hope that was a helpful practice for you guys. A little more focus on rolling today. And I want to wish you the best day ever. Thanks so much. Mwah.